Hi, my name is Chan. Welcome back to the chaos that is Chani and books. And today I am doing a reading vlog in which I'm reviving a video that I have cancelled multiple times now. But I'm going to attempt to read the Goodreads Choice Awards winners. Baby! So, let me just quickly do a little chat about what's happening here. In, I think, like December of 2020, I started a reading vlog in which I was going to read the Goodreads Choice Awards winners of that year. And then I ended up getting busy and I kind of cancelled it. I was like, okay, just forget it. And then months later, because I'd already started collecting the books anyway, I was like, maybe I should revive this video. And I tried to do it in September and then I ran out of time. And then in October, I read 0 books. So I definitely wasn't doing it. It's now the beginning of November, and I think I'm going to attempt to bring this video back to life. I know what you're thinking, but the 2021 Goodreads Choice Awards are about to come out. Yes. So my plan is just to read my intended video that I was supposed to do last year and read last year's top 10 books in the category that I chose. And that will tell me if I should bother with this year's winners, because we all know that the Goodreads Choice Awards are a bit of a popularity contest. People don't have to have read all of the books in order to be able to vote. You don't even have to have read any of the books to be able to vote. You can just vote for whatever you want. So a lot of times the popular books just get picked. But I'm thinking that I think it's in November that the first round is announced. So I'm going to get started on this now. I do still have, I think, the original clip that I filmed. Will I insert that? I don't know. You'll tell me in a second. I definitely didn't come up with this. Loads of people have done it before and I really enjoyed their videos. So this year when I went to check the nominees, the category that I had read the most books from was fiction, the first category. Which is interesting because usually I think it's young adult. Well, last year it was actually romance because I read a lot of 2019 romances last year. But this year it was fiction and I had read 3 of the top 15, which then went down to only 2 of the top 10. The winners were announced today, yesterday, I don't know, at some point. And I'm going to check the winners and then over the next couple of months I am going to try and read all of the top 10 books that were in the fiction category, because if I had already picked up some books, I guess that was my favorite category this year. So yeah, everyone kind of does this different. Sometimes it's so that you can have a vote that is accurate because you've read all of the choices, and sometimes people have done it after the fact, like after the winners. But yes, I'm going to be reading it after the winners have been announced because the time pressure of getting it done before the winners is too much. And probably do it during December, January, maybe even February, because that's a lot of books to buy all in one go and I don't really want to do that. Okay, we got a little fussy, so we're going to check back in once I have something to say about one of the books, I guess. I need to update you from then regarding the books because I have read some of them. And I'm also going to be swapping out one book for a different book. All right, so the category is fiction and I'm reading the top 10. And in 2020, out of the top 10, I had read 2 of them and I was interested in reading another 4 of them. And then the remaining 4 were books that I either hadn't heard of or I had heard of and they weren't books that I was super interested in. Also, here's some alternate covers if the ones that I have don't look familiar to you. Now I am going to be swapping out one book because I'm not comfortable buying it, reading it and reviewing it. And that is American Dirt. I am not going to get into the reasons why this may or may not be considered problematic to you. I'm just not personally comfortable purchasing it and reviewing it because I have seen reviews from people that have given great explanations as to why they think that it is not appropriate for that author to have written that certain experience. And if you would like to find out more, maybe I'll leave some links below or else just Google it. So I'm going to be swapping out American Dirt, which it came like 3rd, I think. So then I looked on the ranking, and I was like, okay, I'll just swap it out for number 11. Number 11 was Writers and Lovers, I think it's called, which I was interested in. But number 12 was a book that I'd already read in 2020, so I'm swapping it out for number 12 because that's one less book I need to read. Number 12 was If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. So those are going to be the new 10 books that I am reading. I'll pop up a graphic of the order of the Goodreads rankings, and I will, as I update you, give you my ranking. So in 2020, I had read 3 of the books. The 3 books were Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha, which this is the one that I've now swapped in. So I will put up my ranking of my 2020 reads versus the Goodreads ranking. So I will briefly get into my placing of these, but I actually enjoyed all 3 books, so they could have kind of been all interchangeable in their spots. Anyway, they were all kind of 5 stars. My Dark Vanessa was like almost a 5, I think. I either gave it a 4 or 4.5. But at the moment, in the top spot, I had put Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. These are all really quite popular books, so I don't know how much I actually need to tell you about them. But this is a book following this young girl in her 20s who is a babysitter for a white family, and she is black. And she's out having fun at a club with her friends, and she gets a phone call or text message or something like that from the family that is saying, I'm really sorry, can you come and help us? They've had an incident at their house and they really need her to take their daughter, or one of their daughters. They felt she wasn't safe and or they didn't want her at their house. So she leaves the club, the nightclub. She's obviously dressed for the partying. And so she goes and picks up this young girl. I forget what age she is. Remember, I read this in 2020. And she takes her to a grocery store and she is questioned by the security guard there. The security guard basically thinks that she's stolen this child or has taken this child away from the family. She tries to explain like, no, I'm babysitting, and he's looking at her clothes saying, no, you're not. And there's a guy there filming it, and it turns into this big thing because he's judging her because she is a black girl with this white baby. And the story goes on from there. It deals with performative like allyship and a lot of discussions around race. Sorry, Kian's talking in the background. And yeah, I thought this was really good. When I read this, I was in a slight slump and this really pulled me out of it. It was really engaging. I thought it read really fast. So yeah, I've put it in my number 1 spot and you're standing on the books. In my number 2 spot at the moment is If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. And this is following a glitteringly dark and unsettling debut novel about 4 young women struggling to survive in contemporary South Korea. I don't think I had read before this a book set in South Korea. I'm not sure. I can't think of one. Yeah, I really, really loved this. Like I said, it's 4 women. So yeah, this discusses how plastic surgery is like really routine and common. It also discusses these room salons where women are competing to entertain these wealthy businessmen, and it was really, really interesting to me. I loved it, and it's in spot number 2 at the moment. My Dark Vanessa is in spot number 3, but is by no means a bad book. It is extremely hard to read, in my opinion. Honestly, the day I started reading this, I couldn't eat my dinner that night because I was that unsettled by it. And I think that's the only reason why I didn't end up giving it 5 stars, because even though the writing is stunning, it's really well written. I don't know, I just feel like, I don't know, maybe it is 5 stars, but I just couldn't put it in my top spot because I feel like the other books, to me, I liked more. I don't know, I'm not a good reviewer. I shouldn't be ranking things, but I'm just going by vibes. That's how I rate things. I just go by vibes. So if you're coming here for coherent thoughts, you're in the wrong spot. But this is basically, probably heard of this one, it's really popular. We're following 2 timelines of this girl, Vanessa. As a teenager, she is involved in this relationship with her school teacher, which obviously is very inappropriate because she is underage, so it is not a consensual relationship at all. She is essentially being groomed. And then we're following her also in present day as an adult, dealing with her feelings about this time. And in the beginning, we see that she initially looks back on this time, Kian. She looks back on this time as seeing it as her being in love. But yeah, we obviously have to watch her grapple with the fact that it was not an appropriate sexual relationship for her to be in. Yeah, like I said, couldn't eat my dinner the first night that I started reading this. And I struggled to get through it. But it is obviously an incredibly written book. Everyone is praising it for a reason. But yeah, it's a really, really hard story to read, like really, really hard. So yeah, I almost didn't make it through it. Again, not because it's bad, just because it is really hard to read. Okay, and then since then, in 2021, I read one other book from this list, which is Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I read this in my first Zodiac reading vlog. If you would like to see it, I'll leave it linked. I'll put up the graphic, but I'm putting this into my #1 spot now, which is hilarious to me because the first half of this book, I absolutely hated it. I was getting so frustrated with the characters. I did not enjoy it, but then I pushed through and I ended up loving it. Gave it 5 stars, and it's one of my favorites of the year. It basically follows this person who tries to rob a bank and ends up holding a group of people hostage in an open house in an apartment. And we're getting these interviews from the police, as well as seeing snippets throughout this robber's life and also the lives of the people who are being held hostage. And Frederick Backman has a very interesting writing style, so this won't be for everyone. I know some people did hate this, but I absolutely loved it, and I am thinking about rereading it soon. But I won't go into too much details. I feel like that's kind of all you need to know. But do know that I hated the beginning and I ended up loving it. So if you are reading this and you are hating it, you might love it in the end. But it's in my #1 spot now. Okay, that's 4 of the books, which leaves me with 5 to go. The Glass Hotel I'm going to be reading as an ebook. The physical cover that we have, in my opinion, is hideous and I didn't want to buy it. Also, that's the one I'm interested in the least. So yes, I will check back in when I have an update for one of these books. Or actually, no, I might pop in when they announce the shortlist for this year's one. Will I do a little bit of a prediction for what books are going to be in it? Do we care about that? This is going to be way too long. Because my prediction is pretty much any popular author that has released a book this year will be guaranteed a spot. Riley Sager came out with a book this year, that will probably be on there. If Stephen King came out with a book this year, that will be on there. Who else had books this year? Beth O'Leary's books usually get on there. Oh, the Taylor Jenkins Reid book, that will be on whichever category it goes in. Historical, probably. The Sylvia Moreno Garcia book will probably be on there because she was on there last year. I think she won her category last year. The Emily Henry book will be on there because last year hers was on there. I don't really keep up with the young adult, like fantasy stuff, but that's usually what gets put in the young adult section. Or maybe the new Angie Thomas book that came out this year. I've seen a lot of these 2 books, so these might be on there. Becky Albertalli had a book out this year, so that might be in the young adult section as well. I don't know, there might be some others. I'll have a think. But the next time I come in, I'll either have finished a book or I will be reacting to the winners. Not the winners, the first round of shortlist. I don't know. I don't even know what this is. This is basically just me reviving this video so that I didn't waste my money on these books. Although, I'm probably going to enjoy them all, so we'll see. So, The Midnight Library. Very popular book. I can definitely see why it gets such high ratings and such praise. The main character, Nora, wait, is it even Nora? Yeah. She decides that she wants to end her life, and instead she ends up in this place called the Midnight Library. So yeah, all the books in this library show her a life that she could have had if she had made, you know, whatever decision differently, which is such a cool concept and I love it. I think the reason why I didn't love this book a lot is I think I just wasn't too fussed reading from this main character's perspective. I don't know. Not that I don't like Nora, but I just really wasn't enjoying reading about her. Like, I just felt like I was interested in the story. I thought it was great, but I just didn't feel excited to read it. I don't know. I was thinking of giving it a 3 stars, but it's more of a 3.5, which did get rounded up to 4 on Goodreads. So I don't know. If you're coming here for good reviews, this isn't the place. It is very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's just very obvious that the message this book is trying to give is that, you know, you can make whatever decisions differently. You can wish that you had a certain life, or that you have all these regrets that you wish you could change, but, you know, you should be appreciative for the life that you have. It's very obvious that this book is trying to say that, which is fine. But yes, I have enjoyed Matt Haig in the past, and I will continue to pick up Matt Haig. I'm disappointed I didn't love this. I felt like it could have been a new favourite, but maybe I didn't like reading from Nora because we switch into all these different lives. So each book that she opens, she goes into this different life, and her personality is just different in each one. Not different, but I don't know. Okay, I can't even concentrate because of him. I'm just moving on. Hi, I'm popping in with an update. Because one, I think I inserted a clip of me talking about the Midnight Library, which I read for a different vlog, but I obviously haven't told you where it ranks yet. So it is actually in last place. Not that it's a bad book, but I just liked all the other ones better. But the reason that I'm coming to film a clip now is because I'm pretty sure that the 2021 Goodreads nominees are out for the first round. So I might do a little reaction to that because I have not looked yet, which is funny because I've seen some people posting about reading the winners for this year, and I'm still reading the last year's winners, but it's fine. I'm not gonna abandon this video because it's been like a year of me trying to make it. So I don't know, should I put up a screen recording? How do I even get to them? Here it is, okie doke. All right, so I did a little bit of a prediction about what I thought were going to be winners. Pretty much just anything that I thought I'd seen a lot on social media this year is what I predict. I'm also predicting that I probably haven't read many of them, which leaves room for me to read for another reading vlog. Okay, so fiction. Okay, this first book, That Summer, is the same author as one of the books that I'm reading for this vlog. So I've never read anything from her before, but she's had books 2 years in a row, so it must be popular. Oh, the new Sally Rooney, should have known that was going to be there. Oh, Dial A for Aunties, I have that on my shelf. I have Infinite Country on my shelf. Detransition Baby, I did see a lot of that this year. Oh, We Are the Brennans, that's on my TBR too. Ah, Cloud Cuckoo Land. Oh, The Guncle. I have only seen one person, I think, post about that book, The Guncle. Is Kaylee from Dog Eared Page. She doesn't post on her YouTube anymore, but I'll link her Instagram. And she posted that book, and she was the first person I'd ever seen post it. And I messaged her straight away to ask, is it about a gay uncle? Because one of our best friends that we used to live with is gay, and he calls himself Kian's Gunkle. I really want to read that book just because Kian has someone in his life that he calls a Gunkle. So there's actually more books on the first list that I'm interested in than I thought. Literally none I have read, but that's fine. Let's look at mystery thriller. All Her Little Secrets. That's a recent release. It came out like last month. I did see that one. Rock, Paper, Scissors, I've seen heaps of people talking about. The Good Sister. Do I have that on my shelf somewhere? I think I do. Yeah, I can see it from here. The Maidens. Should have known that was going to be on there. I've read Arsenic and Adobo. Heard lots about Razorblade Tears. Leanne Moriarty. You guys know that my favourite book of the year and my least favourite book of the year is both by Leanne Moriarty. I'm expecting I won't have read any of the historical fiction. Oh wait, no, Malibu Rising. Of course that's going to be in there. The Prophets, I actually have that on my shelf. And the final revival of Opal and Nev I'm interested in. Oh, I've read The Lost Apothecary. Okay, so more, look at me reading recent releases. I've read or heard of more than I thought I would have. Fantasy, most likely haven't read anything here. TJ Klune, that's the one I probably would read. Oh, I've read The Inheritance of Arcadia Divina. Loved it. Can you see it down there? Yeah, there it is. Sorrowland I'm interested in. She Who Became the Sun I'm interested in. But yeah, not many that I've actually read. Okay, romance. Of course The Love Hypothesis is on here. That has had so much hype, but I do want to read it soon. Oh, one of the Brown sisters. Yes, I should have known that would be on there. The Emily Henry book, yes. I've seen heaps of that Tessa Bailey book. The Heart Principle, of course. The The X-Hex I've also seen heaps of. 7 Days in June, I've heard of that one. The Spanish Love Deception, yes. Everyone's been talking about that too. Oh yeah, the new Beth O'Leary. I do want to read that one. One Last Stop I have read. Second First Impressions is on my shelf to read. Am I a romance reader now? Because I'm interested in a lot of these. Right, science fiction. Probably nothing. Yeah, no, not a sci-fi reader. Also probably not anything on the horror shelf that... Oh yeah, there's the Stephen King that came out this year. A Dairy of Blood! I have read something from this section and I loved it. Okay, that's obviously what I'm going to vote for. By the way, I'm not voting now. I'm just scrolling through. Humour, probably nothing. Oh, I do have Yearbook on my TBR. Whoa, look at me with a book from every section. Hey, you're making a mess. Okay, non-fiction. Oh, the John Green book. Should have predicted that would be on here. I've seen a lot of people read Cultish. Okay, yeah, Beautiful Country. I've seen a lot of people reading. Oh, Crying in H Mart. I've seen that picture a lot on Instagram. I didn't realize that was a memoir. I guess I've never really read what it was about. I just see the picture of it everywhere. Yeah, not really. Some graphic novels that I've seen, but not really. Oh, I'm surprised that wait, did Heartstopper come out this year? Maybe it was last year. Didn't the fourth Heartstopper book come out? I'm surprised that's not on there. Unsurprisingly, haven't heard any of those poetry. All right, debut novel. Open Water, The Gilded Ones. Oh, Firekeeper's Daughter. I have seen a lot of people posting about that. Oh, Honey Girl I've read. Okay, so I've only read 2 from the debut section, but I've heard of a lot of them. Young Adult. The Project I have on my shelf. Ace of Spades I'm interested in. Concrete Rose I've read. Tokyo Ever After I have on my shelf. The Cousins I have on my shelf. Perfect on Paper I've read. Oh, no. Young Adult Fantasy, okay. House of Hollow I've read. Probably nothing else. Middle grade. Oh, okay, Amari, yeah. Everyone was reading that. Should have known that would be on here. Okay. Well, that's that. That's this year's. Honestly, I feel like the section that, or the category that I'm interested in the most books is kind of the romance one, which is weird. Will I do this again for the 2021 Goodreads winners? I don't know. Just by looking at the list, I'm not 100% sure, but let me read the rest of the books for this video and then we'll know. So I'll come back in when I'm finished another book. All right, I'm going to try and give you my reading update, but I have a feeling that someone... So I have actually finished one book and I'm in the middle of 2 others. So let's start with the book that I've finished, which I'm very happy to say was amazing. So The Girl with the Louding of Voice by Abby Dare. Giving this 5 stars, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is now in the #1 spot for my ranking. This was amazing. It is one of, if not my favorite book cover ever. And the story is one of my favorite stories ever. Probably going to make it into my top favorite books of the year this year as well. By the way, excuse the fact that we're sitting in the mess. It has been raining a lot, and as we know, Kim likes to spend time outside. So we've made a lot of use of this playroom in our house at the moment. So anyway, so The Girl with the Louding Voice. This is following 14-year-old, and we find out in the beginning that she used to... No, I'm in the middle of something. Great. This is the longest song ever. Okay, no more of that. Thanks. Yeah, exactly. So we know that she had been in school and that she loved school. She wanted to learn and she wanted to become a teacher. Again. Okay, but I was talking. It's a good story. Could I talk now? Okay, what about my book? Can we talk about my book? Okay, but I was going to talk about my book, not you. Ah, yes, that's right. Okay, I am trying to move spots to give you this update. I have had to refilm this clip already, but I'm going to try and talk about this book. So in case I have to delete the whole clip that I just filmed, this is definitely 5 stars. So it is set in Nigeria following a 14-year-old girl who is removed from school after her mother dies so that she can help out at home. She now lives with her dad, her older brother, and her younger brother. And she lives in a very poor part of Nigeria, and they are now struggling for money. So her dad tells her in the beginning chapter of the book that she is going to be married. And he's basically selling her to this old man. He's basically selling her to this old man to be his 3rd wife. So obviously 3rd wife, he already has 2 wives, and she's 14 and he is a lot older than her. He has children already and he wants her to give him a boy, a son. Yeah. So she obviously does not want to be married off. She has said that her mother wanted her to stay in school, to learn English, get a nice job, and be able to have money of her own. But obviously her dad has pulled her from school and sold her. So yeah, so she now has to go and live with this man who she does not want to live with. And then things happen and she ends up being sold again, secretly, as a domestic servant for a rich family in Lagos. I don't know, I need to look up the pronunciation of places and things. I kind of wish I listened to the audiobook though. I think it would be good. I'm gonna look up and see what it sounds like. So yes, there is a rich family who she is now the domestic servant for. And the rich family are not really that nice. But Aduni still is really determined that she wants to go to school. She wants to learn and make a life for herself. She ends up making some friends to try and help her. And the really interesting thing about this book, one, is the actual story. I was really invested in the story. Haven't read a lot of books that are set in Nigeria, but one of the interesting things about it is the way it's written. She lives in Nigeria and obviously she did not finish school and she hasn't fully learnt English. So the book is written in broken English from the beginning, but as it progresses, once we hit about the halfway point, she begins to try and work on her English and learn more. So then that starts to fade and it becomes more fluent English, which is a really interesting way for it to be written, in my opinion. Around the halfway point, she also comes across this book of Nigerian facts that she becomes really interested in reading about. So then at the beginning of chapters, some of the chapters start with a Nigerian fact from the book that she's reading that corresponds with stuff that's happening in that chapter. So for example, at this chapter we have the chapter heading and then the fact, which says, fact, Nigerians are known for their love of parties and events. In 2012 alone, Nigerians spent over $59 million on champagne. And then that is a fact that corresponds with something that's happening in the book in that chapter, which that is also really interesting. This book did make me cry and I think it's something that I'm going to think about for a while. Like I said, I definitely want to check out the audiobook because I would love to reread it. And I think that because of the writing style and the way that it's written with the broken English that then progresses to be more fluent, I think it would probably make for an interesting audiobook. I really want to see how it's done. But yes, this is definitely taking the #1 spot at the moment in my little ranking. So I would really recommend this book if you are at all interested, because yeah, everything that the main character went through is just heartbreaking, especially considering the things that are happening to her happen to people. But she is just so determined, and she is just such a strong main character. I really loved reading from her perspective. So now moving on to the 2 books that I'm currently reading. We'll start with the one that I have physically here, which is Big Summer. This one, I'm about halfway through, first of all. If I were to find a short way to describe what I think of this book so far, I would say that it is the movie Mean Girls if Katie Heron were plus sized. So I do have some thoughts on this so far. So what do I say about this book? Basically so far we are following the main character named Daphne. She is a plus sized girl. There's a lot of comments about weight and feeling good in your body, the way other people view your body. So if talk about weight is at all a trigger for you, then don't read this. Definitely do not read this. So we get these snippets of Daphne from high school, where she goes to a new school, and I guess it's a rich school, and there are these 3 girls, which I'm just envisioning in my head as the Plastics. And yeah, the main girl, who is in my head Regina George, is from a very wealthy family, and these Plastics kind of try and take in Daphne, but they're not very nice to her. And there is this other girl who tries to warn her and kind of says, they do this to people, they make you feel really good and really wanted, but then they just kind of throw you away. So we're getting these chapters in the high school, and it just feels like watching the Mean Girls movie, which I do love Mean Girls, the movie, but I'm not really interested in reading about it in book form, so I wasn't really that interested in those chapters, but I kept going because if this has taught me anything, anxious people, I hated, and I ended up loving it by the end, so I'm gonna persevere. So then Daphne, we find out she has this online following because while she was out with these friends, she gets treated not so nicely by one of them and this guy, and she ends up standing up to this guy and stomping on his foot and yelling at him in a nightclub, and someone films it and puts it online and it goes viral. So Daphne then kind of creates her own little brand around this viral video, and that is now what her career is an influencer on Instagram. So that's present day, and then we have our flashback of high school. So then this mean girl, whose name I'm already forgetting, Drew, the mean girl, also known as Regina George. Drew, who Daphne has cut out of her life, comes back randomly one day to ask Daphne to be a bridesmaid, and Daphne obviously doesn't want to because she's cut Drew out of her life. Drew knows this, but Drew is saying that she has no friends and she has no one else, and she needs people to be bridesmaids because she says it's going to be embarrassing if her husband has all these friends and she doesn't. So anyway, she ends up offering to pay for it, and Daphne, because she's an influencer and this wedding is going to be at this nice location, she's like, okay, I can get nice photos there, I'm just going to do it. So then I was thinking to myself, it started to feel more like a romance, and I was thinking, because Daphne gets there, she meets this guy, and there was a steamy scene, and I was thinking to myself, this feels like a romance, why is this in the fiction category? But I got to part 2, which is where I'm up to now, and there was a plot twist. Wow, I got really tongue-tied there. There was a plot twist that I didn't really see coming, and I think that's why it's not classed as romance, because it's like kind of a blend of a bunch of genres. So I don't know if this is becoming a mystery, or there's a mysterious element that we are going to have to find out what has happened, but that's where we're at. We're at the wedding and something happened, and I'm gonna see what the second half has in store. I don't have super high hopes, but there are a few great conversations. Like I said, there's a lot of talk about body positivity. Okay, the universe does not want me to film this clip. My SD card just filled up. Anyway, like I said, there's the talk of body positivity, being confident in your own body. There are a lot of parts that are Daphne's inner thoughts that are not very body positive. So like I said, beware. But there's also some conversations about the internet and social media. Kian! Daphne says a line saying, even if things don't get better, you can always make them look good on the internet. Which, you know, I definitely agree. You can't always believe what people post online. There was also a line where someone, that's right, talking about the wedding, and someone said maybe she had a deadline in her head. And that to me just describes the reason why I don't ever log onto my Facebook that has like all people that I went to school with. And I pretty much just use like BookTube and Bookstagram because I think it's just mentally exhausting to keep up with all the people that you went to school with, and it does feel like everyone's just showing off where they are in this race of life, who's bought the nicest house or has had the nicest wedding. And I feel like Bookstagram and BookTube is we're all just sharing books, and yes, we share our lives as well, but it doesn't feel that mentally draining to me as personal people I know in real life does. I don't know if that's just me, but I do not keep up with what people that I know in my real life from school are doing. So I appreciated those conversations. I'm going to stop talking about that because he's not going to let me. The other book that I'm reading is The Glass Hotel, which I'm also not super loving. I'm reading the ebook, so I don't have the physical copy to show you. Honestly, can't even tell you what it's about because I barely know, but I've got to go because this has been the worst clip ever. It's literally been so chaotic. Is that you? Is it funny? I never know how much life stuff to put in these videos, but what is this, Kian? We just got this bed delivered, and like, how am I gonna get this inside and put together on my own? I don't know what to do. I'm just putting the dust jacket back on my book because I have just finished it. It's on upside down. I literally don't even care. Also, I put the bed together. I was gonna film a time lapse of me putting it together, but then it turned out to be kind of a disaster. And well, it was my own fault for being stupid and not realizing how to put it together, but it's fine. It's together now, so. And we're already planning to get like fairy lights and vines and things to put around it because that's just apparently what I'm doing to all of my furniture now. The reason that I'm here is to talk about Big Summer. I think I already told you the synopsis of this. Basically, the first half is like Mean Girls, if Katie Heron was not from Africa, but instead was plus size. And when I had updated you, I was about to reach part 2. Oh, thank you. Is that my bookmark? Thank you. Very nice. Yes, I had just reached part 2 in which... Right, I just reached part 2 in which I was shocked because of a plot twist, but it was really the book just literally changing genres. In the beginning of this, it was just like a contemporary book, which kind of felt like a romance. It was like a chick lit genre. Okay, what is going on with the light? I don't know. But then the second half of the book, part 2, then turned into like a mystery, which felt weird because I feel like this author is probably used to writing contemporaries, and it was pretty obvious that they're not really a mystery thriller writer because the mystery was not... I don't know. Hang on, I need to fix this light because it's going to bother me. Is that better? I don't know. Anyway, I rolled my eyes a million times at the different plot twists that were predictable within this, and then because obviously it randomly turned into like this murder mystery whodunit type of story, and when the ending was revealed about who the killer was, I was like, ugh. Yeah, And then the other thing, oh, I have to read it upside down because I put it in upside down. There was this weird part where... there was an Asian character who went on this big speech about their parents immigrating to America and wanting them to have this American dream life. You don't understand what it was like. You can't imagine. My parents came to this country not speaking the language with $500 between them. They paid my father's aunt to take care of me so they could work around the clock in a convenience store. They'd take turns sleeping in the storage closet so they wouldn't have to pay rent. They told me every single day that it was all for me so that I could have an American life, so I could go to a good prep school and an Ivy League college and be a big American success. You don't know what it's like to be one of the only Asian kids at a place like Croft, to be different, to never fit in. And then the main character goes, I was a scholarship kid, I interrupted, hoping I could get her to see the similarities between us. You think that means we're the same? Is what the Asian character said. You could lose 50 pounds and just be like the rest of them. I never could. We're all people, I whispered. So like the Asian, I don't know, I guess like the main character's just trying to relate to her to say like, well, I was different too because she was plus size and she was a scholarship kid, but then the Asian character's like, I don't know, she was saying like I didn't fit in because I was the only Asian kid. It was weird, and I'm pretty sure this author is white. I don't know, it was just weird. I don't really know how I feel about that. It was, and like I said, the mystery was like, I rolled my eyes so many times. It was just the main character that was just trying to solve this mystery with no experience whatsoever. She just enlisted some friends to like help her figure out the death and the... Anyway, I'm not going to talk about this book more because, as you can expect, this is now in last place in my ranking and I'm giving it 2 stars. I mean, if I even give it 2 stars, it's more like a 1.5. I don't really know. My ratings system is not solid. But, yeah. I think that to give something positive about this book, I enjoyed the discussion about the fact that people's lives online are not really to be believed. You can post stuff online that makes it look like you're really happy and successful and blah blah blah, but in reality you're unhappy, you don't have all the things that you make it seem like you have. I don't really know. I enjoyed those discussions and I wish that the book had continued on that sort of theme. And like I said, there were a lot of talk about like body positivity, but the character was really hard on herself about her body, which obviously is reality. People, you know, not everyone is confident in their body, but it was quite draining to read about. Yeah, it got quite tiring after a while of just reading over and over her putting herself down in her inner thoughts. So if you, like I've said, yeah, don't read this if you don't like reading books where characters are really hard on themselves about their weight. So yeah, so far last place. But anyway, we're going to move on because I have The Glass Hotel, which I'm not enjoying, but I don't want to DNF it just in case it gets better. I have Dear Edward and Transcendent Kingdom, and then that's all the books for this video. And my camera battery is flashing at me, so that's the perfect time for me to go. Oh gosh. As you can see, I just put up my Christmas tree and it is like wonky. It's leaning to the side, which in my opinion is representative of my life. It just doesn't always go right. Kind of like this vlog. So last I updated you, I was 50% of the way through The Glass Hotel and I said I wasn't super enjoying it. And so I thought I'll just start another book, which I started Dear Edward, and I made it to the halfway point, and I'm also not super enjoying this. And I felt a reading slump coming on, and as we know, I didn't read for like 1.5 months in September/October, so I did not want to go back to that. So I very quickly decided that I was not going to push myself through those books. So then I thought, okay, let me pick up the last book that I have for this reading challenge, which is Transcendent Kingdom. And thankfully I am enjoying this more than the other two. So let me discuss the books. I think I'm going to DNF this and The Glass Hotel, which I didn't really want to DNF anything for this reading challenge because I don't know, I set the challenge for myself and the goal to read the Goodreads winners, so I feel like I just feel like a failure if I don't read them all, but I'm not going to push myself through when I know that I'm not going to probably end up enjoying the books. And I know that for anxious people, I did not really enjoy the first half, and then I ended up loving it and giving it 5 stars. But it wasn't the writing style that I wasn't loving. I was just like not loving a reading from the character's point of view, but I was still interested in the story. And this has like similar vibes, I guess, but I don't really like, I'm not excited to pick it up. I just don't care. And this is something that I thought I would love. Like, it sounds like something that I would love. So basically this is about a plane that crashes and everyone on board dies besides one boy. And then it kind of like follows him after the crash. And it sounds like it should be like something super emotional because this boy has lost his family and he's 12, so he's still very young. And it's also like we're getting little, I guess, snippets of the passengers that were on board and their lives. So it should be like emotional, but I just feel like there is no emotion in the writing. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like, yeah, it is what it is. And I just don't want to keep reading it. So I'm not going to force myself to read it. Maybe one day I could pick it back up again. Who knows? But for now, I am going to officially DNF it, and I am going to count it as read on Goodreads because I made it past the halfway point. So, and I'm going to do the same for The Glass Hotel. which I also made it to about 50%, I think. I'm reading it on my phone/iPad, so I don't have it, which I'm actually glad I didn't spend money on a physical copy and just read the ebook from my library. So this I'm really confused by, honestly. Like, I don't care about any of the characters. We're getting little snippets from all these people that are connected to this hotel. I was interested in the start. Like, we were hearing from this man and his sister. The man was like out at a nightclub and gave some drugs to someone, and they ended up dying in the club, and then he is like trying to run away, like, whoa, I think I accidentally killed this guy. So he tracks down his sister, who he hasn't spoken to in forever, and then she gets him this job at this hotel, and I was interested in that. But now we're just getting all these chapters from all these different people. The sister, I have no motivation to pick it up. Like, I do not want to pick it up, so that is telling me that I should put it down and not pick it back up. So I think from that, I mean, it's hard to place these in my ranking because I didn't officially finish them, but this and Glass Hotel are now going to be in last and second to last place because they were DNFs. So I am now on the last book of the reading challenge, which is Transcendent Kingdom, like I said, and I am enjoying this more. I'm not super loving it. I don't see this taking out the #1 spot now, but I am like about halfway. Well, it doesn't really look like, maybe a third of the way, almost at the halfway point. And we are following this girl whose family have moved from Ghana to America. And we find out in the beginning chapters that her brother had died from a drug overdose. And we're getting all these chapters in the present day where she is a scientist. Yes, so it's just her and her mother now because her brother passed away from the drug overdose and her dad left them, I think. And I think her mum is now depressed. And we're getting, like I said, chapters in the past and the present. It is confusing me slightly about all the jumping around. I'm not like obviously I'm not like good at retaining information that good or understanding books, and a lot of the time jumping around is making me slightly confused about the timeline of events that are happening, but I think it should be fine. There's also a lot of discussion about religion in this, so if you don't like reading about religion in books, then maybe don't read this one. But it's, yeah, she's coming to terms with how she views religion after growing up in a religious household. And now obviously she is a scientist, so those things don't usually go hand in hand, religion and science. So she's like, yeah, she's going through that in her head, I guess. And yeah, I am enjoying it. I'm hoping I'm going to finish it today or tomorrow, and that will be the end of this vlog. But I mean, something could happen that really bumps this up, but I feel like it's kind of in the middle at the moment. As far as the rankings go, I don't think anything is going to knock off The Girl with the Lighting Voice because I just loved that. I have finished my final book. So, going to try and do this very quickly because this video is quite long. You can see toys in the background, we're going to ignore. So I have finished reading Transcendent Kingdom, which is the final book. And when I was reading, I was thinking that it was probably going to end up in the middle. But as the book progressed, I feel like my rating was bumped up. He's going to talk as well. And this is purely because of all the quotes that I was saving. So I obviously enjoyed the story. Like I said, it is following this girl who is just navigating her life after her brother dies of a drug overdose, leaving her mum depressed. Her dad is not in the picture, and she's trying to move on with her life and her career. And she's also, I don't know, there's also a lot of discussions about religion, as I said, but I did save a lot of quotes. And I guess if you don't like reading about religion in books, maybe you will have a different experience with this book than I did. But a lot of the things that I saved had resonated with some discussions that I've been having in my life. Since having Kian, my boyfriend, and I have discussed what our thoughts about religion are and where that fits into our life, and neither of us really had grown up in religious environments, so a lot of these quotes are things I'm going to show him and to further our discussion about that. So I think that's why it was bumped up for me. But that's something that obviously is going to be different for everyone. But it is still a great book in my opinion. I think it's really well written, and I'm putting it in place number 5 in my ranking. So it's right in the middle. However, I did rate it 5 stars on Goodreads. So while he's destroying all of the books that I've got here, I really quickly want to discuss what I've learned from this experiment. So at the beginning, I told you that a couple of the books, bless you, a couple of the books I had already read, and there were a few books that I was interested in, and then there were a few books that I had either never heard of or I had heard of, but I wasn't interested in reading. And what's funny is that all of the books that I had already read or were interested in ranked at the top of my ranking. So here's my final ranking again, and you can see that all of the books that I was interested in ranked at the beginning, and the books that I had never heard of or I wasn't interested in reading ranked at the end. The only one that was kind of a surprise was The Midnight Library, because I thought I was going to like it and I didn't end up. But it's just really interesting to me that I could have just gone by what I already predicted for myself, and the books that I wasn't really interested in, I was correct in not being interested in them because I shouldn't have read them. They weren't even good. It's interesting. I do have another Goodreads video planned to do after this one, hopefully. And as for my ranking in relation to the actual Goodreads winners and votes, obviously the big difference is that the Goodreads winner was The Midnight Library, which ranked in place 6 for me. Some books were in the literal exact same spot as the Goodreads ranking, or were very close to the Goodreads ranking, and then there were a couple that I obviously ranked higher, but in general, it was pretty accurate. But I did get a new favorite book out of this. I just love this cover, and I can't believe that I have a signed version of a book that I love. That is amazing. He's taken the dust jacket off one, but there we have my final ranking of the Goodreads winners. Ian is sitting on the dust jacket. Oh my god, this is like really chaotic. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it to the end, you are amazing, because I'm pretty sure this is a really long video. If you did make it to the end and you don't know what to comment, is there a trophy? Comment the trophy emoji, because this is for the award winners. And yes, like I have said, I'm going to do another Goodreads video. I'm really excited for everyone else that's doing these type of vlogs, because I really, really love them. All right, I'll see you next time.